There are two main types of terrible phenomena in the world, from those that cause direct disasters caused by accidents and injuries to those that are defined as side disasters that attack us invisibly, such as curses and grudges. The actual harm suffered by direct violence and destructive behavior was often an opportunity to expose human weakness with tremendous physical damage. But the invisible divine influence came as a powerful message that could destroy an individual's personality. The scary story I am about to tell was written in a letter from a man who asked me to be anonymous, but the story was also very interesting, so I would like to release it. This man would like to keep his name H, but he was the eighth generation young heir who inherited the venerable traditional culture of the Tohoku region. H was one of the famous swordsmiths who had been going on since the middle of the Edo period, and he was a person who wanted to have a reputation as a rare cultural figure who had the special mission of inheriting ancient Japan culture in the present day. Although he is 45 years old, he is contented as a young metal worker, but his outstanding aesthetic eye and connoisseurship are highly trusted by his peers and supporters, who are selected from all over Japan. And he is so skilled that he has been selected as one of the 100 best modern masters. The horror story that made me suck the blood of the body he brought in was exactly what I could say, but the psychological pressure that cut my nerves to the point where I became a mummy stood out. The area where he lives, deep in the mountains of Ai Prefecture in Tohoku, was an ancient place that valued the traditional culture that Japan was proud of since the Middle Ages. Due to its high level of secrecy, most of its cultural tastes are kept out of the gates, and it is also a place where a kind of rare brand is concentrated in the form of inheritance that only limited connection enclose the secret art. The fable about the sword mentioned this time can be said to be representative of this region, and it was terrifying human story that gave a grips of the mystery and depth of passion that the Tohoku region has. M, the founder of the master craftsman H, was the goldsmith of the Wai family who was the military guide of the Tokugawa shogun family and was entrusted with almost all the golden techniques of famous sword and strange sword. It was only one of the hardware that was difficult to pass on, and the proposition was to pass on to future generations the phantom demon sword, which was in danger of survival in this era. But it was so passionate that it became increasingly difficult to succeed. The sword was a genera- genealogy from the Muromachi shogunate, and it was a swing of the world with a terrifying demonic aura that the shogun family of the time hated. But it was said that it was a miracle that it was able to inherit its majesty to this day. The sword, named Ishindo Genkiri, is a huge body with a width of 105 centimeters just by the blade, and is said to be a phantom ancient sword that can never be worshipped in modern times, with a unique blend of iron and finished as a yellow demon sword. This phantom weapon, of which almost no literature or materials have survived, was notorious as a monster sword used in vicious scenes that appeared in many folk tales and tales during the Warring State period. The maternal line of Masamune, the ancestor of the Date family, the male of Tohoku, the Mogami family, learned that this sword was contained in the item presented by the Mogami family as a sign of the maternal visit, and the Katakura Kojiro of the genealogy came to abolish the Mogami family. When it was dedicated to the Shogun family, the head of the Uesugi family, when he offered to examine this swing, there was a rumor that the blade he picked up scratched Kagekatsu right on. But the Uesugi family, who had been stigmatized as a traitor without having to confirm the authenticity, had to dodge the blade with the Shogun family, and they were troubled by an excessive salary reduction. Recently, In the Meiji Taisho era, it was even said that one of the masterminds of the 115 incident presented this iron body to the shrine and planned a government to overthrow the government. Up to this point, it was just a tale and an urban legend that was created, but the enormous negative energy brought by this sword became a negative story known only to those in the know and was passed down to the present day. H, who secretly inherited the suspicious breed in today's world, never want this cultural property to be made public, but he came to think that it would be possible to overlap the slight antique value with the value that has engraved the history of Japan's counterfeit objects. In the process of caring for the legacy of the 80th generation head of the Tohoku Genji Ryu Muneharu in the present day, it was the height of regret that the abominable and horrific incident introduced this time occurred. The incident was summarized in a part of the tragedy caused by a sodomist who was a sodomist. The sodomist B was the most talented emperor among the disciples, favored by his predecessor Muneshige and had an outstanding technique to put what he saw and heard into his soul. His connoisseurship of iron casting techniques and sense of designing sword was so skillful that he shocked the entire school of thought. The rare genius suddenly took out the sword that was said to be a phantom 6 months ago, cut off his own head, raised that head in an instant and stabbed it into the precinct of the Kembei-daka shrine, which is dedicated from generation to generation. I heard the bad news exactly 6 months ago, and in the early morning when the event was in full swing at the end of the year, a nearby woman with a pale face suddenly ran in and trembled and commented, during the visit to the palace, a suspicious person dressed in red and white clothing slashed his head violently while muttering something. I had come to visit the child who was given by the spirits of this shrine. But I had never seen such a devastation before. I arrived at the shrine at about 12 o'clock at night, and by that time he was already moving his body up and down as if he were offering the sword in his hand into the air. He thought he would be able to go home soon, and he was waiting for a little while, holding his 1-year-old child and watching the situation in the bushes next to the torii. About 15 minutes later, I thought there was a terrible roar from the air, and suddenly it started to rain. The rain is right and can pour down like drizzle, the thunder rumbling as if it was inversely proportional to the amount of rain seemed to be taking the lead in the air, and I felt very creepy. The sky is making a dry sound like a small cat purring. The sound surrounds this shrine, but it never feels like it is coming down. The man took out a small wooden box of tea barrels and sold something nearby. It was little far from me, so I don't know exactly what they were sewing. White, intuitively, it looked like ashes from burnt bones, but I thought back to myself that there was no way that could happen. The man's majesty is not only standing out, but also paying attention to the abnormality of displaying a knife in such a place at 12 o'clock in the night. However, the real nightmare began at this time. The man took off his outfit and became completely naked, took the 1 liter bottle he had prepared next to him and began to drink it vigorously. I was still chanting something, but I couldn't hear exactly what it was. It looked like a sutra, but I don't know what it is. Eventually, after a gesture and shout of force, I set my sword on the back and thrust it forward vigorously. At that moment, oh, I thought, I didn't expect something like that to actually happen, and I desperately covered my mouth with both hands to hold back the sobbing that came out of my mouth. The head that should have been cut off. Ho ho! The man held it in his hand, and when he went in the direction of the precinct, he placed it on the worship sheet in front of the main shrine, and then switched his sword to both hands and stabbed it from above with all his might. The headless man fell to the front with his sword clutched. I was worried that this fear would pass on to my child, so I immediately left the place. When I woke up early in the morning, there was a lot of commotion in the area, and when a man died at Kemboizaka Shrine, I heard on the news that his identity was a famous swordsmith here. The woman appeared the next morning and commented as above. The reason I didn't go to the police immediately after seeing the tragedy was because I was upset when I witnessed such a thing, and I needed to calm down and make sure that what happened just now was not a dream. That's what I said. H was informed of this incident before the sun had risen before 5 o'clock, when he received a call from the local police station that an otaku official had died in a ruthless manner. The police received a report from the shrine priest, who confirmed that there was a lot of bleeding in front of the precinct. While the priest was on his way to perform his duties at 3 o'clock in the night, when I illuminated the area with a flashlight, I found a strange corpse of man dressed in strange clothes. I don't think this is just a thing, but I couldn't move right away. I calmed my mind and immediately summoned the priest and the shrine maiden to tell me what was going on. Neither the priest nor the shrine maidens were able to confirm anything unusual during the midnight shift, but some priestesses stated that there was such soundless roar that the canopy of the precincts temporarily trembled. Yes, it happened around midnight. After hearing the story of the female witness, H immediately headed to the scene. Kenbei-daka Shrine is a venerable shrine formed at the end of the Kamakura period, and it is the shrine where valedictorians from the Tohoku region pay their respects. When I arrived at the scene, several police vehicles of the prefectural police blocked the entrance to the shrine and could not enter. A uniformed police officer waving an illuminated baton was firing again at the vicinity and seemed to be threatening anyone who approached. H went inside through the side of the control line and forcibly went inside. When I arrived at the front of the precinct, the object that looked like a corpse was already gone, and only a liquid like red paint was scattered vigorously on the large white pebbles. There is a strong smell of blood containing iron in the vicinity, indicating that it is not red paint. A few meters from where the black and yellow zebra pattern control line was drawn, the appearance of a thick white rope framed in the shape of a humanoid was vivid, and I felt that the passion of B, who would have passed away, remained intact. As Edge stood up in a daze, he heard a man's voice from behind him that seemed to have his throat crushed. Um, you, where are you? The only one who can get into such a noisy place is the culprit. I am a swordmith in Genji, and I hear that it was one of us who died here. Huh? That, that it. Iron is to no iron. Um, by the way, oh, I'm not particularly gathering. I was asked to investigate here. I'm going to hang around a little. Um, After all, was it one of us who died? Yes, it will be, but even so, it seems that you came here by haggard. Was there some kind of illness or something? Huh? What do you mean to be haggard? At the time of identity verification, he was 37 years old, which seems to be too thin for a 37-year-old healthy man. Haha, after all, I was said to be a person who might represent the family. I'm sorry. Ka 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 ka. If you apologize, apologize again, you the culprit. I don't even know if it's murder yet. Is the body already dead? Hey, I'm keeping it at the station right now, but I'll return it to you after the autopsy and current examination are over. Hmm, is it going to be a big deal? What do you mean? No, we can find out. Ka, 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 ka. This is off the record. But when it comes to a conspicuous, suspicious death, it is a case that occurs once a year. Now we are cooperating with the prefectural police to deal with it. Of course, I will also disturb the otaku. The man left with a fierce smile. A suspicious death? What do you mean? What happened here was a problem in our house. Our was there another incident in such a small town? It was always conveyed as if something was going on. But maybe I was only informed of part of the situation yet. This town of E could not be said to be a forgotten land in the Tohoku region, but an event in a marginal village with fewer than 1,000 people is about to develop into a situation that shakes the entire town. 80's agitation was getting worse and he couldn't regain his composure. When I got home, a group of young blacksmith apprentices approached me in a panic. The motto, I can't see my mother. What? What do you mean? My wife came to visit this morning, and it seems that I was quite upset when my mother was not there. When the sudden death of the ascetic was discovered, it was time for the disappearance of a relative. Sometimes it doesn't stop when trouble occurs, but it may be at times like this. However, since she is unusual as usually an active mother, I thought she would find her soon. For less like us, who live in a small and limited world, major stumbling blocks and scandals can directly lead to the survival of the house itself. If we don't break the negative chain quickly and appropriately, it may continue like this. H waited for his mother to return home and thought that he had to hurry up and resume making salt. Then, 3 days later, I encountered a shocking event that broke my mind and pushed me to the bottom of hell. This was also an unprecedented happening, as if dragging the shock of the death of the young sodomist. Young, the monk. The monk has passed away. What? What? The police came again and contacted me saying, I want to hear the story. Tea is. What does T say? H is only some tea. Was his beloved son who had just entered high school this spring, in a situation where my mother, yes, who came to marry and gave birth to her eldest daughter, stillborn 10 years ago, has been bedridden since then. She was the heir to the expected that was born as a seed in our family because of the cuteness of my child. My parents are so attentive that I do anything, and I have a child who is as naive as a bird in a cage. Such a son died. It's a mistake. There is no way that can happen. The sound of the phone rang as if to further add to the continuous troubles that did not give me time to heal from the shock. It is Mr. H. Oh, I'm sorry. For the meantime, do you understand? Oh, my name is G, a detective who took care of me at Kemboizaka Shrine. I thought I could tell just by my voice, but that's not the case. Huh? So? Hey, I thought this was also a project with an otaku. So I'll contact you. I'll tell you the location. So can you come right away? The place where H headed to the scene was in a mountain like abandoned place where no one in the local area could approach. It seems that it was an old mine whose owner, our name is unknown, and rusty barracks of unknown age and heavy machinery that I have never seen before are left here and there. The mountain was only a few kilometers away from my home, but it was known as a dangerous area where I didn't know what was being thrown away, so no one would approach it unless something was wrong. What was the man named G who called himself a detective? Is it really a detective? And it is certain that there are idiots who intervene with ridiculous and jealousy. So I have to be on guard here. I can't control the increase in invisible anxiety. H was driving from home to the mountains, but he was so nervous that he almost went back several times. I arrived at the scene before the radiator of the car warmed up. This time far more people gathered there than the policemen who were at the came Beizaka shrine. It was a bit of mess before the rope was attached, just like before the control line was attached. But this time the tension at the site was not half heated. There were only a few forensics and 2 or 3 police officers entering and leaving the shrine. But it seemed that there were at least 5 times as many people. The place was like the top of a loose bowl, with a small lake in the middle. Perhaps due to the influence of mind development or something, the center became more water-shaped, and the natural pond was created by the accumulation of water from the rain that had fallen for many years. The entrance is flanked by a 2-meter long steel tower that is white, thick, and rusty, suggesting that there used to be an iron gate. I parked my car aside and went inside, and I saw a small wooden house on the right side of the lake. It could have been said that it was dead hut with no sense of life, but it seemed that a man I met at the shrine at that time was standing in front of the hut waiting for me. "Oh, Mr. H, you're here. I'm very deaf." Huh, 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 huh. "Did you find my child?" "Hey, even if I say it, is it okay? For people like us, the phrase and derogation of relatives is the most concerned. How is it going?" H forcibly entered the hut where the people involved were entering without being stopped. The inside of the hut is a dirt floor of about 6 tatami mats in the foreground, so there is a little space, but it felt very narrow because there were several investigators. It seemed that there were 2 tatami rooms in the back of the front, but there was nothing there. On the right-hand side, there is a place that looks like a bathroom where the glass has completely disappeared and only plaster remains. The bathroom was a place that felt small for 2 people, but there was a blue plastic sheet in front of it. At that moment, a chill rushed through my back, as if my brain was thrusting up. I feel like it's something, but I don't have any confirmation. I was trying to push my body forward, but my whole body was in a state of fear and tension. "Mr. H, that's right. No, no, it's no good." "Whoa, Ho 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 ho, ho ho. I thought I'd explain it first, but I'm sorry. Is this different from my son and my mother's? What is it? Why are you in such a place? No, I don't know much yet, so I can't make a conclusion. But it doesn't seem to be a murder. It will sink into the record. The exact time of death will be given from now on. Murder? Someone killed you? Who did you hear it from? Why do you know that? The scene I saw in such a remote but in the mountains, where no one approached, was so terrible that it almost became traumatic. The bodies of the two people in the bathroom were found in a bathtub with a black wooden frame that looked like it was about to collapse. His son T and his grandmother M died while hugging each other desperately in the bathtub or the bathroom filled with water. All my clothes were taken off and I was left naked, but I couldn't help but think about the feeling of being submerged in the cold of such a middle winter. The submerged liquid was like water, but I wondered now how the bodies of humans who died in the freezing water looked so blue and whitish. Although it was not the first time I had seen a dead body, it was the first time I had seen such a sad and inorganic lump of flesh. And why is this happening? My son and mother? I don't know why, but for some reason, I guess it's because of this. Well, this will also be known when the investigation is over. By the way, what is this piece of wood? Oh, water. No, this is a piece of water that has been wiped so dry. I guess it was caused by fallen leaves and broken earth. Well, if you look closely, you can see this. Small pieces of wood and large green leaves are scattered in the bathroom. The surrounding area was mainly leaves, and inside the bathtub, pieces of wood about 30 centimeters long were roughly arranged and laid on the bottom of the body. Detective G is suspiciously grabbing the piece of wood and looking at it. What is it? It looks like an ordinary tree to me. But is it a persimmon tree? Did you try to sing to the tree and burn it? Anyway, that's why it's so good. How do you light a fire in flooded place? Ha ha. It may be true that it is often the case that the criminal buries a body with respect, but this is not the first time he has seen homicide. Hmm. In any case, it cannot be said that it is very unfortunate to be close to your grandson and die. These last words were squeezed out with a gesture that was almost praying. A, a person called the ace of the house had developed a spectacular death, the result of experiencing the death of his mother, who was a relative, and his son, who was so cute that it could be said that he was his alter ego, at the same time was the same as having his mind torn to pieces. H returned home in despair, but his heart was completely broken and his whole body was weakened. I was shocked and damaged to the point where I couldn't even thought it was anymore. A negative chain of sucking up all the energy from the body has begun. I might die like this. Da 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 da. Whoa, whoa, do. Whoa. Oh, oh yeah. Damn it. Uh-huh. What, what do? What? As I was testing at the entrance where the store counter is located, I suddenly felt an unusually severe pain in my shoulders and back. I was shocked both physically and mentally, and I was attacked by someone from behind when I was hanging down on a lattice shaped pedestal with a porch connected to the living room. When I saw it, when I saw it, what? My daughter-in-law is slashing at herself violently in a demon-like form. In my hand, in my hand, I had a gangiri. Hey, S, what's going on? Stop! Please stop! I don't remember much about what happened after that. When I realized it, I found myself looking up at the pure white ceiling. Apparently, he was taken to a big hospital. When I regained full consciousness, Detective D appeared after a while. Oh, did you get angry? No, It was almost like I was going to be beaten soon. It's dangerous. I wonder if I should worry about it now, but I'm still being held in F hospital now. H was so sad that he couldn't even cry. I thought that this must be the curse of holding a demon sword called Genkiri. Curse can only be understood by those who embody their essence. The wood was a persimmon tree after all, because persimmon lasts iron. Since ancient times, iron shops have shunned persimmon. Son, son, this is not the full story yet, but after my mother let me eat, and after taking sleeping pills on both sides, I think she went into the bathtub, and if her grandmother told her, she would have eaten normally without any hesitation. That's too bad. Tannins were detected in the contents of the stomach from some autopsy results, which will also be analyzed in detail. Oh, will I be able to make a sword again? Do it, but be careful. There are several bizarre incidents similar to this in that region, and it will calm down after a short rest. She said that and left with a grin. I felt that there was still a lot more to be done in this tragedy. This was a scary story about the so-called that is happening even today. End.